Hello, everyone. We're here live with
Everyone.
Anthony. Hello, Anthony. How are you doing?
I'm good, Edson. How about you?
I'm great, doing good. So it's an honor to be here with you today, Anthony. Um, Anthony is a former NFL football player,
hmm
and he's also a current EFL professional football player in Germany.
Yeah, ELF. Yeah, that's a
ELF,
European.
ELF,
No problem. European League of Football. The league is
European
growing.
League.
That's the second year.
Tell us a little bit about that, Anthony. How does the NFL ELF work?
NFL. I think everybody knows. I mean, people surely know about the NFL. They heard about the Super Bowl, and I had the chance to reach that level, the best level of football, and to compete at that level. And the ELF is trying to copy like the way it works, taking the main cities. So we have in the league we have teams in Germany mainly, but you have team in Spain, you have team in Austria now, you have team in Poland, and maybe there's another country. And and yeah, so then you have games every week that you either receive people or you have to fly to another country. So it's really interesting, and the competition is every year getting higher. More people, more American, more stuff are coming to the league. So it's interesting.
That's pretty cool. So, Anthony, you are a professional football player, and I thought it was quite. We're going to talk about today about the making the transition, from being a professional athlete,
Mhm.
which I wasn't a professional athlete, but I was a college athlete too. I was a tennis player, so
Which is the same, really. The way they train in college, it is like a professional.
well, yeah, it's very competitive
hmm
in college. The NCAA league is very competitive in United States, but still, it's not yet professional, right?
hmm
Professional is still another at another level. So I can relate a lot with what your career and the moment you're going through.
hmm
So at first I wanted to talk about Anthony. Tell us about your career as a football player because I thought it was quite interesting how you began at a later age, right? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that and how was your beginning as a football player?
Yeah, basically, and I was in the summer. My cousin Giordano, he came to our place, and we sold every games that we have on Nintendo 64. And then he told us like you have to play that game. That was NFL Quarterback Club '98, and we started to play. Didn't know anything about the game. Didn't know anything that works. And then my brother and I, we fell in love with the game. And so basically, I got into football through a video game, and then I started to watch Super Bowl, and then I realized that I had a team in my hometown, and I started to play. And after that, I played for 5 years in Grenoble, my hometown in France, southeast. And then I went to Canada. They changed the eligibility rules, but then that was for me the first time. That's why I say it was professional. In France, we practice twice a week. There, you practice twice a day. You film every practices. You get correction for every practices. The competition is higher. So basically, at the end of training camp, after 20 days, I basically train at a higher level, best level for like a year, basically in France, but at a higher level. So then when I came back, so we in 2012, 2013, I'm like, I'm coming back to Europe because I can't play in college no more. So I'm gonna go to the best level and I'm gonna try to dominate. And that was my goal. And so I could play the end of the season 2013 with the Berlin Rebels. That was the GFL, German Football League at the time. And then I played for the New York Alliance. And the really 2 great years with the New York Alliance. We won the championship undefeated in 14. In 15, we won the German championship and the European championship. And then I put together a highlight tape myself on YouTube, and I did dirty at the office in London using that the coach of the defensive line of the Dallas Cowboys. He comes from England. So and he saw my video, brought me to London for a workout. Then he brought me to Florida, and then after 17 days, there's an agent that came. He saw me kicking bags, at the end of the day because I grew up doing taekwondo, and then
Hmm.
And then he was like, "Oh, he's your fighter," because where we were at XP Sports in Boca Raton, Florida, they train MMA fighters, NFL players, baseball players, and so he thought I was a MMA fighter or something. And he was like, "No, he plays football." So he saw my video, started to send it out to multiple teams that he had contact with, and then a lot of workouts came in, and then the Giants were the first because Osi Umenyiora that won two Super Bowls. He's a former New York Giants player, and he had me to work out. And after that first workout, I signed with the New York Giants, and I spent the whole preseason with them, so OTAs, organized team activities, and then training camp and the preseason games. But I didn't make the team because they signed 90 people, and they carry 63. Now it's a little more because they have more spots on practice squad, but then yeah, that was a start. And then same process. I had a workout with the Falcons, Atlanta Falcons, in October 2016, and I signed a
Uh-huh.
contract with them. And then that was the same process. I didn't make the team, but I gathered so much experience, and that was I will say the Falcons were that was my best experience, and I learned really so much because and Raheem Morris, that was my position coach. He's the
Hmm.
defensive coordinator of the Rams that just won the Super Bowl. So I learned a lot, and
Very,
then I
very
started when
cool.
I was 19 to play, and yeah,
So that's what a question that I wanted to ask you. You started when you were 19, officially playing football. Did you play football before you were 19?
now I did, like I said, I did taekwondo from 8 to 12, and then I play soccer like everybody in Europe, and
Uh-huh.
I did handball when I was in high school, but that was it. So really,
And you
football,
and as you said, you started playing football because of the video game, right?
yeah, yeah.
You
November
were
2007.
that's that's amazing. And is it normal for people to start football when they're 19 and become a professional football player? I never heard of that. In at least tennis is
No,
it possible? I never
no,
heard of that.
I don't think it is. That was pretty late. Yeah, I signed with the Giants. I was already 27. So yeah, it's quite late. And they have a program now. They're trying to get people like when they are younger age. So yeah, no, it's not that's not the case. That's not the route. Like nobody really does that. Yeah.
And Anthony, what would you say was the characteristic in you that made it possible for you to become a professional football player, even starting so late in your career?
I think that was the belief because when I was still I think that was in 2008. I don't remember where Julio Jones and AJ Green, as two receivers that play in the NFL right now, they got drafted and they were my size, my height, and more like AJ Green. Had this speed, and the way they were talking about them, that they were about to get drafted, I was like, that's the same body type. I just have to play the. Oh, my bad. And I just have to. I just have to yeah, basically they were saying like they run great routes, they attack the football, they are really a good football player. And I was just watching their videos. I get the body type. If I can copy the style of play that they have, then maybe I get a chance. And this is I believe that I could do it. So
So
yeah,
we can summarize it in saying that you had a body type. You saw that physically you were capable
yeah,
of doing it, but you still needed to develop yourself to be in this the level that these guys were.
yeah.
It took you what from the time you were 19 until you were 27 until you were drafted to play with the NFL, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Signs, but yeah.
and how was that? How was the routine? How was your practice routine? Did you was there something different going on with your routine? How did you get to that level? Once you saw, okay, I have to get to the level of those guys. I have the body type. That's the first
Mhm.
thing. And how did you do it? Can you go through some of the moments that?
I would say at first that was really for fun. Like all the time that I had in France, like we didn't have like the structure that you have across the yeah, on the other side in America. Yeah, and, arriving in America, and like I said, training so much with everything that's filmed, we have a coach for every position and getting corrected and getting like direction and being taught how to play football and how to perform, and the amount of preparation that goes into football. And this is what was really interesting for me, because when you see the plays that they do, like from the time that the ball is snapped, like when the center gives the ball to the quarterback, to the time throws the ball and catches the football, this is all script. So we repeat. There's no place for improvisation. Like everybody knows what's going on, and so you are master of your success, really, because you can see what people are doing. You can use their weaknesses. So the whole preparation phase, I really learned what it'd be like for the strategy. I learned it when I was in Canada, and also in Canada, like you have to wake up to go to the gym, you have to a program, you have a personal trainer, the whole structure that you have like professionally, that was already in college. And this is where I learned what it was about and how professional football was played. And this was for me enlightening. And after that, some of what I learned in Canada, I brought it with me back in Germany. So I continued to train, and I knew what to watch and how to improve. And yeah, basically, I was applying that to every day, every season that I had, trying to improve, because my goal was like to get a chance to get in the NFL at some point, and I just had to improve.
So there's a lot of practice, a lot of discipline. Um, you had to, I guess, remove a lot of the other things from your life, right? To
Yeah,
in order to
that
get into that point,
yeah, but
right?
that's the thing. I was that was the only goal that I had, and I was giving everything for it. So really, that it didn't feel like it was sacrifices. I was just doing. It wasn't. I wasn't sacrificing anything. I was just doing the right stuff to get to my goal, to achieve my goal, and my goal was the only thing that I had in mind.
And let's talk about that. You had a frame of mind, which is what most athletes go through. Um, if you want to be a professional athlete, you have to be better than so many other people because there's so many people who play the sport in any
So
sport,
yeah,
and the routine is a lot of involves a lot of sacrifice, involves a lot of um, discipline, and going through the process uh, makes you a better person in the end. Not only for the sport, but also
yeah.
uh, as a person in general. That
Yeah.
with the discipline and everything that you do. And now, changing now the topics. Now, how do you see this transition? From uh, being a professional athlete to now going to the business world. Where do you see that athletes can make a difference and make difference and have a good spot as a business professional?
I would say all the skills, all the yeah, the skills and the structure and being organized and having a goal and setting up a strategy, a plan, and it is all that you learn like through professional football. And I was, even before I met you, I had the chance to meet you. I was convinced that there was a way to do it. Everything that I learned like in football, those skills, I have to be there has to be a way for me to translate them to the real work world and be as efficient. Because how can I say, when you reach such a level, you want the same for the all the other parts of your life. You want to have
Hmm.
the same success. You want to prepare the same, and you want to achieve exciting goals again, even though it's not in football. And yes, this is basically the discussion that I had with Jean-Baptiste Jousseau, and I was like, yeah, so many times, like I want to translate that. I want to learn. I want, because I learned English like watching so many videos on NFL, NFL.com/videos, and then at some point I realized that I could talk. The same thing when I came to Germany. I was I'm in Germany. I'm playing football. I have some time on my own. Let's learn German, and and now that I want to translate to the real work world, being like towards the end of my career, I'm like, yeah, I want to learn the business side. I want to learn how it works, and I want to be efficient. I want to improve. I want to reach all the goals, and for me it works really the same. Like if you take a company, you have goals. There is something that you want to achieve, right? And then for me it was like kind of blurry. I didn't know how it works, but I knew that some way somehow it should work the same as professional football, and it has to be structured, organized, and you have to learn the way it is done. And this is why I applied to the MBA, because I want to learn how it's done to be a good professional, to be efficient, and to achieve what I have to achieve.
Fantastic. Um, there's a common perception, and I'll give you this thought and see how you react to it. But
Hmm.
that we have this image that the professional player is the jock, and it's hard for them to be the intellectual, because it's been focused so much on doing that sport.
Hmm.
Um, and I can see, like, for example, I've been in college, and at some point, like, there was I missed a lot of classes during
Hmm.
my college years, because I had to be in the court and playing tennis.
Hmm.
And it affects not your social life and your class life, because
Hmm.
you have to be in the court and you have to be practicing all the time.
Hmm.
But in your case, even more, because you were a professional player, and
Yeah.
you spent so many years being the professional. I wouldn't say sacrificing, but dedicating so many of your years
Yeah.
to the sport. And now some would say, okay, but now Anthony's coming late to the game, to the business world, because he
Hmm.
spent so many years um, in the football world. Uh, but I would say it's not really like that, right? Because the years that you spent uh, developing football, playing football,
Hmm.
were actually years that you became a better person as an individual, with
Yeah.
discipline and establishing a routine and
Mhm.
going after your goals and setting your goals. So, what would you say? Do you agree with these thoughts?
I totally agree. I will say for the first part, I grew up only with my dad left when I was 10, almost 10, and and I had no father figure. Football for me and the structure that it brings was for me the father figure. Like all the quotes that you see about football, the way you gotta handle yourself, respect your teammate, like all those values that sports carries, that was for me a father figure. And this is maybe why I I love football so much and why it is so important to me. And yeah, for the second part, what did you say in the second part? Because I wanted to rebound on that. Yeah.
Uh, just think about it in terms of, okay, someone
I know,
that
I know, I
doesn't
know.
know you, that doesn't know
Yeah.
you,
Hmm.
is gonna look at your curriculum, and you're gonna
Hmm.
send a CV like, this guy. Wow, this guy has spent 10 years playing football, and now he
Hmm.
wants to go to business.
Hmm.
He doesn't have any business experience. How can he make the transition to become a business professional? What would you say to these people who are saying that?
I actually was in I can say that I had that case because before I came back to Leipzig to play American football, I worked in a company, and basically what you have to do, you have to convince them, you have to tell them like it works for you and me when we talk, because you know so much about sport. It's easy for you to see like how you can relate and translate. For other people, you have to convince them, you have to tell them, yeah, you know football is not an easy sport. Like you can see what I achieved. Not many can do that, and I'm autodidact. I want to learn. I can learn. I learned German in 5 months with no classes, just like that. Because when I'm interested, when I want to achieve something, I give
You learned
every.
German in 5 months.
I did actually. I started to understand after 5 months in Germany, and then I started to talk. So
That's
then yeah,
amazing.
thank you. And yeah, and then maybe it's also because people don't really know the nature of football and the all the strategy part. Because you just this is why I like football so much. Okay, you use your body, but you use your mind, your brain. You the strategy part is so important. Yeah, there is nothing that is there's no details that is let to the side. Everything is structured and basically for somebody that knows sports and somebody that knows American football, he can in the blink of an eye see like, okay, this guy did that, and okay, I think he can translate into that and this and that, and then yeah, for me, I have to convince them because I am convinced personally that I can be really good in the business world, and you really have to convince them. I mean, you have to tell them how sports works, and maybe describe them like what is a day or a week or a month in the life of a professional athlete, and the dedication, what I have to learn, what I have to do, what I have to structure, and the balance too. Like you said in college when you had school and you have yeah, you to balance your life basically because now I have my wife, I have my kids, I still have sports, and I have the MBA, and I have to balance everything. And we just moved a week and a half ago, and we still I still have to do the same stuff, and nothing has to appear. So yeah, yeah, you have to balance with that, and it is quite interesting. But I will say you have to convince people. You have to convince people. You have to show them that you're capable of, and yeah, basically like I said, I'm big on doing, and once you do and you show people, then you get there. I can say that.
And yeah, and as you said, because I was a player, I can relate to it. But there's
Hmm.
also there's a lot of companies who actually um, value
Hmm.
the experience as an athlete because it shows that you can become good at something if you know what it takes to become good at something.
Yeah.
And uh, some people who are not in the sport and haven't been so much in the sport, they have a hard time imagining what it takes to do it. And I think of some critics of athletes, and I'll give some examples. Like there was this race car driver called Rubens Barrichello in Brazil.
Hmm. Yeah. I
He
know.
he was racing while Schumacher was
Yeah, I was
the
about to say
champion.
I was a fan of Formula One, so I know that time. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
he was always the second place of Schumacher, right?
Yeah.
And people in Brazil were always like, "Oh, this guy is so slow," And there's memes of when something is slow, it's Rubens Barrichello. But they have no idea
Yeah.
what it took for this guy to get at the level which he is, where he was, which was
Yeah.
the second best
Yeah.
race
In the
driver
world.
in the world for so
Yeah.
many years.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. But then this is why I think that was some months ago. I just realized like how many Formula One drivers there is. There's 20 in the
Yeah,
world out of
20.
almost 8 billions. There's only 20. So even if you're the 20th,
Yeah,
I mean, you're a part of this 20 club. You know?
yes, yes. And if you see those guys racing in live, it's amazing how fast they can go and how close they're precise in their curves and everything.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you get this unfair critique of this guy who is on top of the world and did so much to get to that position.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's somehow how I can relate.
Mhm.
If there are naysayers that say, okay, the same thing, making the transition to becoming a business person while
Yeah.
you were an athlete.
Mhm.
Um, it's the guy has no idea what it's been through. It's years of experience of
Yeah.
becoming good at something, and that you can easily translate to another any other thing that you're gonna do in your life.
Yeah, and it's basically it is for the balance that will be time management for the contact with people in your team. And I changed so many teams, and you can't always get along with everybody, but still you have to do it. You have to understand that you have the same goal and work together. You have to communicate certain way to certain people. These are some soft skills that you gather throughout your experience. And I would say now that I'm in the NBA, I understand more. I was really doing it. We are realizing that it was something, that it was a skill. That it was something real. But I
Uh-huh.
was doing it, and now just like the high stage that we just had, um, communication and using communication and adapting to people. This is something that you do naturally or not, but this aspect is real. And when we get into the classes, then you realize, oh, okay, so maybe I'm like this and I'm like that, and then you learn and then you understand how it works, and then you can maybe then play a little bit with it. Like it opens up my all the classes that I had, open my I can say like my awareness to things and how it works and how everything is important, and how little stuff can relate and translate to the business world. And the more I get in, I'm in the classes, I understand how valuable my experience as a football player is for my transition.
That's very cool. So the MBA has helped you realize how a lot of the things that go on in business, or the skills that you should develop in business,
Mhm.
have a lot to do with your athlete career.
Oh yeah, and the other way around too, because for me, I think that was in one of the first classes. For me, you have to be gifted to be a leader. For me, you don't learn to be a leader, and I realized that you can learn. I don't. Oh, maybe you're gonna be an average one, a good one, or an excellent one. You can be gifted for something, but I didn't know that you could learn how to be a leader. And then when I got into the classes, I realized that
I think you're frozen there,
yeah,
Anthony. I think you froze a little bit. Now you came back.
yeah, okay. I'm sorry. So yeah. So what was I saying? That threw me off a little bit.
Just
Yeah,
tell me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, for because I was in that football world, like I rarely saw people that weren't gifted to be leaders become leaders. So for me it was tough to realize that you can learn how to be a leader. You can learn those soft skills. You can understand and integrate and play with it and adapt to the real work world. So with the NBA, I learned what I did from football, and with the NBA, I learned like what can be done. I mean, it works like with each other. So it's really interesting.
Amazing. So a message goes to other people watching us now. If you're not a leader today, if you consider yourself that you weren't born to be a leader, well, there's good news. It's
Yeah,
actually learnable, right?
yeah, it
Skills
is
that you can develop. There's insights that you can get from other people that you can bring to your own life and become a better leader.
definitely, definitely.
And tell us, Anthony, what's one of the moments that you learned in the MBA already that you have been able to apply? So you started the MBA about in January, right, of this year,
February, yeah.
February of this year.
Mhm.
And was there anything already that you learned that you could apply to your job, or something that stood out?
Um, I really like right now the class that I have with Hannah about communication, because this is, I mean, we are new in the league is new, and you have to get along with people, and you have to communicate with so many people every year. There's new players coming, new coaches coming, and this is right now really important. And then there's the financial class that we had at the last semester. It was like I learned about the NFL because I did my research on the NFL based on what I was learning into the classes, and I realized that I was a non-profit organization. Although that's the best, the league that makes the most money in the sports league that makes the most money in the world. So for me, that was quite interesting. I heard too
So
that maybe it stopped, but yeah, tell me.
you had to analyze the financial statements of NFL to work in the class project, right?
Yeah, I wanted to. I wanted to because Professor Nicolo told us like, yeah, you have to choose a listed company, and then I realized that there's no listed company, and then the only one that was public, that was the Green Bay Packers. But the shares that you buy really just give you the right to get the financial statement every year, and that's it. You have no right to decide for a strategy or anything. It's just like we'll say like a flex. Yeah, I own a part of the Green Bay Packers, and it stops right there. And yes, so I ended up doing it on the Manchester United team, but
Uh,
throughout the process, I learned about the NFL and how it works, and that was quite interesting to see. And why is it interesting? Because right now we are trying to copy the NFL with the ELF. Me being in this NBA and being the player that I am for American football in Europe, I want to get in a position of management in a team in the ELF. What's interesting, we are at the start of the ELF. This is only the second year, but we already have the blueprint with the NFL and how it works. And if you understand how it works and why it works, then maybe you can develop faster than the NFL. Because for the NFL, it took a long time. I mean, this is 100 years old league, and they really improved over the last 20 to 25 years. So basically, we're trying to be the China of business right now with the ELF. We're trying to like we have the blueprint, we know it works, and we're trying to do it the same but faster than everybody else.
what do you mean by the China of business?
Because the how you can say that, like China is at the top, not of business but of commerce, and I'd improve industrial improvement that China has seen. That they made the transition is in like 20 years, when other people made like in 100 years. So we, now that you have the blueprint and you know how it works, you got to go through the stages. You can maybe avoid some, but there are stages to take, and because you know how it works, maybe you can do it faster. So you have the NFL, you know what it took them to get there. um, so you have everything in your hands to be successful and trying to do the same.
Very cool. And that's interesting how now while you're doing the MBA, you're looking at the NFL and the ELF
Hmm.
with a business eye
Oh
now,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And this is basically the I have those conversation with import players. I have those conversation with my coaches. I have those conversation with head of the company, because the CEO of the league, he was my head coach in the French national team when we played the World Cup in 2015 in America. So this is all interesting. You can share ideas, and I like what they're doing, and being a part of it is really interesting. So yeah, I mean everything is interconnected. I had football, I had my life here, trying to improve, and that this MBA just connects all the dots, and it just makes sense. And I'm just learning every day, improving, and this is really interesting to me.
That's very inspiring, Anthony. I'm
Thank you.
very glad to hear that
I'm
Hayek
glad
Global
that
MBA
just
is
so I say I'm a proud student of Hayek. I'm learning so much, and I'm blessed to have this opportunity, and I truly think it's going to help me for the rest of my life and the rest of my career. Yeah.
fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Anthony. It was a huge honor to speak to you today.
Thank
Uh,
you. For me
and
too, Edson.
for everybody watching us there, thank you very much for
Thank you.
watching us, and
Mm.
we'll see you next time. Now we'll
See
show you a small ad of Hayek Global MBA.
When you were a child, education once brought meaningful change to your life. But now you're an adult, and it all boils down to grades and exams. Just forget about all that. Grades don't make you stand out from the crowd. Results do. To succeed, you need practical know-how. That's exactly what we stand for at Hayek. An online, truly practical, and international program which will make you lead world-class teams. Earn a Hayek Global MBA. Own the world.